What's going on, internets? How are you? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room. I'm sorry if I just blew your ear holes out. Get used to it. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. This is the podcast, but it's now a live stream. And you're here, and it's Sunday night. And maybe there's like a historic ESPN documentary about Michael Jordan on right now, but you don't have cable. That's why you're here on the internet with me. We have such a great show. Thank you for being here for our very first time. This is totally normal. Totally normal. Soup's norm. But no, we really wanted to bring this show back because nobody has anything to do. I am minimally employed. Newsbroke is on hiatus. And there is a killer virus trying to wipe out humanity. Also, it's an election year, and Jared Kushner can't say that there's going to be an election in November. And I know we shouldn't listen to him, but like the president does. So holy shit. We need to be here. And we have such a good show. We have a clinical lab scientist who's currently testing for coronavirus right now. She's trying to develop, she, women in STEM. Okay. Hashtag. She is developing a coronavirus test right now. We're going to speak to her, ask her all the dumb questions that we're not allowed to ask because it will make us look like, MAGA supporters. I put on lipstick. I hope you have too. And I want to introduce my co-host for this hour. You've heard him before. You've seen him if you've come to any of the Bitchuation Room's live shows. He is a comedian. He is a labor organizer. He is a badass. He might have had COVID. I don't know. But please welcome Mr. Nato Green. Nato, how you doing? Get yourself off mute. Oh, is he coughing?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Not horrible.
Yeah, right. There's always like the how are you, and then the like how are you really? You know what I mean? That it's like, how are you? I'm fine, but also like I burst out crying spontaneously. Like if I hear a song with the right minor chord key progression, minor key chord progression, then I'm gonna be doing some ugly crying. But otherwise, like fine, I guess.
Sure. I mean, that question was always stupid, and now it's just like, right. Let's just cut through that entire thing. Right. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what it's like to have your period. I would just want to explain how much it fucking sucks to be bleeding and be sheltering in place. Usually I like to bleed in public, but apparently that's not sanitary now.
I've seen it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so are you just like even gotten rid of the Diva Cup and just completely freewheeling it?
I should be. I just don't have that many towels. Like I need to be steadily employed where I can be like, word, I'm going to get a whole new set of towels and just let it go.
Right. What do you recommend to get menstrual blood out of a hardwood floor?
I feel like this is based on something that's actually happened. Oh my God. Is this all right. You live in a house with 3 bleeders. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. Let's see. I don't know. I think just leave it there, but you have to like create some sort of decoration, like make it deliberate, just bleed a heart next time. And, if they can all contribute to some sort of, it's like a mandala, but for people on their period.
Mm-hmm.
And it stays forever. No, Nato, it's good to have you, dude. There's like a lot of new stuff we're going to try out with the podcast. We're going to bring segments in. We're going to leave them behind.
Sure.
I hope you're okay with that.
I'm ready to roll with it. It's all an experiment.
This is a fucking experiment.
We're like, with everything about our society, we're totally off the map right now. So of course it doesn't work.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I see your comments. Thank you so much for being here. And remember to tip us. Yes, we're just asking you for money, but guess what? A portion of the money that you give us to the Venmo account TBR-Live will be going to Movimiento Cosecha, which helps out undocumented immigrants during this pandemic and always, but specifically with this pandemic, because guess what? They don't qualify for the measly $1,200 stimulus check that we know should be a lot bigger. But yes, thank you so much for being here. If you have a horrible comment, you'll get booted, but only for like 10 minutes because we really need you here. So stay, and we'll read them out.
It seems like stimulus overstates what it was. Like, slow down with this stimulus talk.
Can we reach climax? Is what you're saying?
Right. It wasn't stimulus. I don't think so. Like, we need some lesser term for what the check was that doesn't dignify it that much.
Like hot and bothered, or like a little brush, a little
hush money.
Capitalist hush money. Okay, well, the first segment that I'm going to introduce, and I might discard it by next week because, it might fall on its ass. But I just feel like because we are often lost in like whatever time and space we're in, we don't know what day it is. It's March 17th. I was just going to say it's March 17th. It's May 17th. I wanted to do a little bit of a roundup of the week's news, and a segment that I call the week where. So, drum roll, soundboard. We don't have a soundboard.
Yeah, let's let our live in-house band take it away.
Do it, rockapella. All right. The week where. Okay. This was, in case you were living under a rock, the week where Trump creates a fake scandal dubbed Obamagate, which is something to do with Michael Flynn. We're not really sure what. Maybe he was entrapped by the FBI, or maybe it's about a tan suit, a microwave, and a birth certificate, which sounds like the MAGA version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah. Trump also fires the State Department Inspector General Steve Linick at the request of Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, because it turns out he was investigating Mike Pompeo. All right. This was the week where Biden said in an interview, "I wouldn't vote for me if I believed Tara Reid." God damn it. Why does he talk?
It's that classic campaign. It's the uncampaigning campaigning. Like Biden's one of his main campaign talking points again and again is "Don't vote for me.
Don't vote for me." And now that there's
you don't like my.
Yeah, no. I feel like, I don't know. It's very, very coercive. It's like he wants to lose. This was the week where Democrats actually passed the HEROES Act through the House, not the Senate. It is a giant bill. Maybe it's a little bit more of a stimulus. Maybe we're reaching climax. $3 trillion, additional response to the coronavirus economic fallout. There's some student debt relief in there. But there is not what the left flank of the party wanted, which was emergency Medicare for all that was proposed by Pramila Jayapal. It does not have the $2,000 a month that folks like Pramila and Bernie Sanders proposed as an alternative to these one-time checks. Because there is only one ringleader in the Big Tent Party, and her name is Nancy Pelosi, and she wears Manolos. So fuck right off.
What is that? What is a Manolo?
Oh, have you not been watching Sex and the City in quarantine? You haven't reached rock bottom is what I'm getting, Nato. You're still like baking bread and showering and shit.
Oh yeah.
Nato's like, yes, I will bake bread. Like as you're like the quartet on the Titanic, except you're just baking bread. We're like, Nato, we gotta go. And he's like, I need cumin.
Right. Yeah. I made some empanadas this week and worked turmeric into the dough. So I'm that guy.
God damn it. Nato is that guy. This was the week when, or where? Was it where? I think it was where. This was the week where Nelly and Ludacris had an Instagram, IG, that's the same thing, live battle, like a song battle, which reminded me of drinking Long Island iced teas and making out with guys named Mario from Long Island. It was great. It was actually really awesome. Not the making out part. That was pretty bad. All right. This was the week where we lost two comedy legends, Jerry Serenity, now Stiller, and Fred Willard. Best in Show, Spinal Tap, Everybody Loves Raymond. Dick Cheney, for the record, still alive. All right. No heart. Somehow still alive.
I kind of miss him.
Dick Cheney?
Yeah. I mean, like.
Are you reviving Cheney? Is that what we're saying?
No, not at all.
Was he vice presidential?
No, it's just like just think about what's happening in the government right now and how much nicer it would be if there was anyone in the presidential administration right now who was a competent fascist. Do you know what I mean? Who like could read just at a basic level. Like
Sure.
if you handed them a memo,
A
they
plan.
could
Sure, it's a Machiavellian plan, but it's a plan.
Like, yes, Cheney was like the pinnacle of white demonry and also just like good at the job.
White demonry.
Game recognized game.
You're gonna get canceled for that on left Twitter. But I just want to shout out some people in the comments. Dirk Dieter, thank you for being here. Peter Brogan saying big ups to Mario. I feel like Peter might have been witness to some of those nights in the Lower East Side.
Joe, in answer to your question, yes, a portion of the proceeds will go to keep me and Francesca fed. If you tip, it won't just go to Movimento Cosecha. Roberto Lovato in the comments requesting my chiles en nogada recipe. And Roberto, I'm going to hold on to that until pomegranates come into season in the farmer's market, and then I will share it with you.
If there are farmers markets in the future.
There will be. I'm just going to go to the farmer's market like complete in a like latex gimp suit.
I dig it. All right. I think I had one more thing. Oh yeah, this was the week where Obama joined a star-studded list of celebrities to give a 2020 commencement or graduation speech. One of the two. I'm not really sure which means beginning and end. I think it was graduation speech.
It was matriculating.
Yeah, it's matriculating. Listen, the credits are almost there. And I just found that there was like a really moving part of Obama's speech. I wanted to read it to you guys. In
Obama voice?
No, I can't. I'm not a good. Oof. No. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew you never knew. My bad. I was just playing. That was from Disney's Pocahontas, Colors of the Wind. That's like a really good song. I feel like Obama should have just read that. It's basically the same. A cough is as good as a laugh, Nato. It
was a laugh cough. It was a laugh.
It was a laugh.
So I have a spicy take on Biden's comment about Tara Reid. I wouldn't believe me if I wouldn't vote for me if I believed Tara Reid.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about right now. That was the rundown, Nato.
Oh, never mind.
But say it. No, please.
Well, okay. So to be clear, I'm just in case there's any question. I'm anti-sexual assault, but the Tara Reid thing to me also like indicates some like weird like the limits of the liberal imagination of like the fixation on personal conduct. Do you know what I mean? Like all the people who weren't perplexed at all that like Biden is complicit in in deporting 2 million people around Obama and building the like mass incarceration apparatus and the drone program and like all of the horrible violence that Biden is directly responsible for unleashing on the world. And people are like, no, but he also touched people. And that's where I draw the line, is his personal behavior and not that his signature is on untold violence decades across the decades.
Dude, spicy take again.
I'm ready to get canceled.
I get canceled. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I hope we do a whole episode and talk about it. But again, I've said it before, but we are in the 9th ring of hell, and I would like to get back to the 7th in November. And yeah, that will be an improvement. And having a Democrat in the White House, and when it comes to women's rights and sexual harassment law, if you truly, truly care about that, it is night and day. And that is the hardest horse bill to swallow. And trust me, as a woman, that fucking sucks. And every woman and every survivor out there knows that it fucking sucks. But yeah, there is a moral choice. It's a long conversation and it's not funny. But that was the week that was, that wasn't the week that was. That's someone else's segment from another podcast. That was the week where. Yay! Guys,
the week where and when. Yay!
Yay! That was a week whence. the next segment we're going to do is called the new normal. Now, we've been talking about the new normal in many different ways and forms because of the coronavirus and because of the fact that we are all stuck at home and we can only leave our homes to go to the grocery store, really, is what I've been doing. And there's a lot of new habits that we're developing. There's a lot of new things that have been adopted. There's things that have been destroyed, like stand-up comedy. We are the victims. Like a lot of things, right? But live comedy is one of them. That's why we're here. And so I wanted to know, Nato, the new normal. What's good and what do you hope remains when all of this ends? Or what do you hope does not?
Well, I mean, so you alluded to it. You alluded to it a minute ago, but it's been like the weird, like craft hobbyist stuff, like in the underground of the economy. Like there's been this stuff about people having difficulty getting yeast, and then like the underground, like everybody's getting into bread
There's
baking.
an underground yeast market?
Like I've had multiple people like drive by my house to just drop off bread starter, God. And like yesterday morning, I got a text message and someone was like, go outside, and a friend of mine had left a loaf of bread under my mailbox. So there's a whole black market of people, like there's like a hanky code of how to signify, like, oh, you have yeast, I have whole wheat pastry flour. Let's like have a transaction. Like I'm the top in this relationship. And
sure. It's also you're like a white liberal in San Francisco when you get yeast dropped off. Nah, you don't have to be a white liberal. You can be a lefty.
Yeah, or a white communist. You don't have to be a liberal. And so, like, I love all of the initiative around crafting and bartering. I got some we got some artisanal batch, like small batch cocktail hand sanitizer. So I have like some liquor, just like whiskey distillery was making hand sanitizer. So then we ordered some, and so now I have hand sanitizer that smells like an old fashioned. That's great. Really into that.
Oh my God, I would just lick my fingers the whole time. That's like putting honey on a bear's paws.
Yeah, and you know how I like to lick a bear's paws. So that's been a bit of the new normal that I'm really enjoying, is all of that stuff, all the creativity that has ensued.
The barter economy.
Of the barter economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I hope that I've accepted chili paste from my neighbor. That was delicious. And I did bake a cake. I've never made a cake before. Not worth it. Not worth the effort. Icing, very worth it. Cake, not so much. My new normal. Look, I don't believe in reviving Bush as a politician, but I do believe in reviving the Bush as a hairstyle of my pussy. Well, let me just say, the vagina is thriving in lockdown, okay? Now, I'm not talking anything sexual. I'm talking about allowing the hair to just scraggle out, just grow and grow and grow. The skin likes it. It is a beautiful time for the bush, and I hope that one of the things that we do is assign W. Bush to be a war criminal and assign the woman's bush to be something forever to behold. We will reemploy waxers as Medicare for all workers when we have it, and there'll be some sort of transition program for them. But free the bush, please.
The implication of that is very funny to me, which is that, like, I've spent a fair amount of time with you out in public, and I've never like seen you just like fully drop trow in a public setting. and so the implication is like, well, now that I'm home, I don't need to keep my bush tidy, as though like before there was so much traffic.
You never know.
You never know what could be going on.
What if I need to drop trow? Well, if I'm doing the free bleeding, no, it's just better. It is better. Yeah, it's better. You could trim. I've learned how to use trimmers. Okay, well, we can move on, Nato.
Right.
This is
have you? I have a Stormtrooper Tiki mug, by the way.
Nerd alert. That's sad, by the way. The fact that Star Wars Edge of Tomorrow, is that what it's called? Tomorrow? It's not called Edge of Tomorrow. What's Galaxyville? Galaxy's Edge. Thank you. Oh, God, I am my mom. That's not going to be open for a really long time. And I really wanted to go on the Rise of the Resistance ride. And I'm sad about that.
So the new normal that I would like to set aside.
I was getting there.
Yeah. I miss not getting hugs, and being able to I like hugging my family, but I like getting out and about and seeing people and hugging friends and other loved ones. I miss that. I'm looking forward to getting to hug people again.
Who would you hug if you could only hug one person who you haven't touched in the last month, 2 months, 3 months? What are we at now?
Bootsy Collins.
Good one.
Yeah.
I'd hug my mom, but that's just because I'm a good child. So
you can hug my mom.
Okay, no, totally. I will. I'll give half a hug and half a hug. What's the thing? The new normal that I don't like. Okay, I'm just gonna be real. I don't like my fridge stocked with food. This sounds like this is like a humble brag / like first world problems, but it scares me. It makes me hyper, like I'm very nervous every time I open the fridge. I'm like, fuck, oh my God, that kale is wilting. That chard's already dead. Like I'm just constantly like the meal planning. And like, I don't have kids. I have a boyfriend I'm trying to not baby, And so I'm like trying to remain in this world where I don't have to fully think ahead too much. And now I'm like, again, back to the meal planning. And initially in the first week, I was like, I've got all these recipes. I'm going to try them. It's going to be great. And now I'm like, what kind of bean hash green, bean hash green, 1 pot, bean hash green, spice, bean hash green. Like that's all I'm doing because I find it very overwhelming. So I do think it's okay to shop small, less shopping, less waste. I do really like cooking at home and being at home, but I don't like to have an avalanche of fucking food in my face. Am I the only one? Does that sound too privileged?
Yeah, I'm really sorry you have too much food right now.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm really sorry that you have too much food that you decided to go and get and bring to your house.
Yeah. I'm trying to reduce my exposure though, homie. That's what I have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like the UN is dropping pallets of food into your yard and you're like, now I have to eat all this.
Give them time. Doctors Without Borders was deployed to like a meat processing plant. I forgot. Doctors Without Borders is like USA is number 1. Okay, we need to be here. Africa's got the shit covered. All right, that was a new normal. Okay, so since we're on the topic, we're actually gonna go deep. We're gonna get some information. As you do generally, from podcasts. Okay, stop talking. This is fine. All right. We have reached 90,000 deaths as of today from COVID-19. We're going to blow past 100,000 before the end of May, of course, even though cities and counties are reopening. Everyone is we're supposed to reopen, even though there is no plan for testing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's very Lord of the Flies. You've got, weaponized white privilege in the form of Reopen America protests. They are armed. They would have been arrested were they brown or Muslim. They got guns. They got droplets. They've got QAnon as their co-pilot. QAnon is my quo-pilot, if you will.
It's two great tastes that go badly together, which is armed white supremacists and anti-vaxxers, the winning combination that we didn't know we needed.
And yet it's perfect. If we could just contain them, like they'll all just die of polio and other preventable diseases. And we're like, cool. Mitch McConnell almost died of polio. I'm convinced that's why he's such an SOB. Maybe he can't actually feel the lower part of his face. That's why it droops so heavily. Anyway, the point is, turns out globally, fascism is actually really bad at combating coronavirus because when you have an entire government based on an unreality, you're not equipped to deal with a reality of a virus. So Russia, Brazil, and the United States doing a pretty piss poor job. Meanwhile, the WHO this week said that the coronavirus could become endemic in the same way as HIV. So we'll just have to learn to live with it. So we might have those new normals. Are we ever going to hug people again? Are we going to elbow bump? Holy shit. Are we going to wear little elbow condoms? I feel like the weenus already kind of needs one generally. And all this under the fact that only 3% of the population has been tested. Only 3%. And we know that testing is sort of the key that unlocks this sort of Zelda-like reopening for good of the economy and our lives going back to normal. And we have a guest to help us understand the trials and tribulations of testing. Her name is Veronica Huerta. She is a clinical lab scientist. And I'm just going to read her credits so you don't I'm actually me and you don't fucking second guess her, because she has a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology from Texas State University, Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science from the University of Washington, 10 years of experience in large-scale hospital clinical laboratories on the West Coast, 7 of those in clinical microbiology, and she's currently working, again, like I said, in a virology lab on COVID-19 testing and other respiratory pathogens. Please welcome, ladies and gents, Veronica Huerta.
Yay!
Hi, everyone.
Yay! Hi, Veronica. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Phenomenal.
How you doing?
Chilling. We talked about
Okay.
pubic hair and bleeding.
I heard.
We've talked a lot. We've gotten real deep.
I feel like I need to just open
Sorry.
with, I do have my own sourdough starter, and I just yesterday did a whole food swap with my neighbors. So
And
that's where I'm at.
Are you
Oh
a
my
white
God.
liberal from San Francisco?
I am a Mexican immigrant who is a scientist and a woman, so I think I'm supposed to be the enemy.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to come take your job.
They weren't supposed to give you sourdough. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
First, they take your sourdough, then they try and fix your public health crisis. Veronica, thank you for taking time out of your week. What's your schedule like these days now that you're running tests on coronavirus?
I'm working, it's called an off shift, so it's just evening. So it's like 3 to 11 or so in the nighttime, because most labs now are having to run constantly 24 hours or close to 24 hours a day, so you can crank out these tests. So I'm there until about 11:30 every day.
Damn. And
Yeah.
how many other people are you with in this? I know it's for a major university. We're not going to name which, but how many other people are working with you?
On my shift, there's, I think, 6 of us. And we have 3 different platforms that run the PCR test. One of them is sort of a larger scale that can do up to 96 tests at a time. And the smaller one, the one that I run, is can do up to 8 at the same time. And it's a lot faster too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So, like when everybody, like, they keep talking about how we need to have more testing and we need to ramp up testing, and that like, oh, the U.S. isn't testing at the rate of some other countries.
Sure.
Like, it seems like, we're pretty good as a nation at like cranking out like a BuzzFeed quiz on like which Game of Thrones house are you or whatever. Like, why is this harder than that?
Which pathogen are you?
Yeah. I think because this involves a lot more people. Because it's not just whether or not you have the labs that have the platform to run the tests. It's also, do you have the equipment that you need to run the test? And by that, I mean the swabs. I just read something earlier that in Washington State, they finally got the federal help of swabs. And I don't know if this is true or not, so don't quote me, but that they ended up getting Q-tips. And Q-tips are not nasopharyngeal swabs. And you don't want to shove a Q-tip that far up your nose to tickle your brain with a very sturdy, giant Q-tip. A nasopharyngeal swab has a very flexible handle, I guess. So when you do go up that deep and you have to swirl it around and, bury your brain a little bit, that it makes it easier
Mhm.
instead of just, yeah, I see your face and you're like,
Well, I know that. Well,
but
I know Nato has actually had a personal experience.
I had it. Yeah, I drove into a parking
Uh-huh.
lot. I rolled down my window. A nice, very powerful Filipino lady grabbed the back of my head fiercely,
Mhm.
and then took a swab that was about, I want to say, 17 feet long,
Yep.
and it
that
went
sounds right.
into my nostril and then straight back. It went straight, like I assumed that it was going to go up, but it went straight back
Oh.
to and hit. I feel like it hit the back of my skull,
Uh-huh.
and I started confessing to crimes that I hadn't committed. I told them where the bombs were hidden. Like, I told them how to catch Osama. Like, the
Mhm.
whole thing.
Yeah. If the CIA only knew, that was the only thing you needed to.
Yeah.
That was your only weapon you needed.
I just want.
didn't
I
need
like
to
to think
waterboard
of.
people.
I like to think of, like, there's got to have been some lab technician or someone who in the past was using the swabs as Q-tips. Who's like, nobody, we got plenty of these. Doop-a-doo.
Oh,
And it's like,
probably.
oh shit. They're probably
Absolutely.
feeling pretty bad right now. But
No.
Veronica, on a like macro level, and then I want to ask you specifics. Like, you're watching this train wreck of a president and an
Mhm.
administration completely bungle
Yeah.
literally every aspect of this coronavirus response. What is the most annoying thing to you to watch as a scientist? What's the hardest thing to watch?
I feel like that would be a whole episode. It's just, it's more of the same, right? It's that the administration's inability to believe the experts and to trust the experts, because we're talking about people that have dedicated their whole professional lives to do this one thing, right?
Yeah.
So if this is all you do, like, how is this other guy who just learned about it and was probably not listening gonna come and tell everybody, like, oh, we should inject bleach into our veins, or, go take this drug that hasn't really been tested for this particular disease. So it's just very irresponsible. I think the level of it's just very irresponsible, and it's costing people lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, I'm not going to lie, this isn't the easiest thing to understand, which is exactly why you have to shut up and let folks like yourself talk. I mean, I think it is important to understand like, what is coronavirus like, right? I mean, I've called it the killer flu, but it's not a flu, right? It's in the family of influenza, as I know we were talking about, but it is very different. And so testing and even eventually finding a vaccine is going to be, it's its own thing.
Yeah, and to be super, super technical, it's a different family from influenza. It's the Coronavirus family.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And that's the one that has a few different coronaviruses, including SARS and MERS and other seasonal.
Is that like how Nicolas Cage is also a Coppola? Is it like that kind of relationship?
Yes, it's similar to that.
Okay.
And I didn't know that.
Look, I'm smart.
Mm-hmm.
I understand science.
Yeah, it's difficult, because it's been difficult to work finding a vaccine, an efficient, reliable vaccine just for influenza, right? For seasonal influenza. As we were talking earlier, like, some years it works better, some years not so much. And so it's just because these viruses can mutate so rapidly. And, every time that I try to talk to people about evolution, whether it's real or not, which is a whole other subject, the example I always give is, influenza, right? You get a flu shot every year, right? Why do you do that? And then blank stares. So,
I think that some folks who don't believe in evolution, if you called it mutation, they'd be like, oh, hell yeah, dude. Like, I do believe in lizard people. Or like mutation sounds so cool. Evolution is boring, Just make it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and
just rename things.
Yeah.
Rebrand stuff.
But this is why people go to conspiracy theories, is because it is hard to understand. Like, for example, and I think back to NATO's question, why was South Korea able to test so many people, and yet we here in the US cannot? Like, is it a trade issue with South Korea? Is it a technical issue?
Yeah.
Did they use up all their tests?
Honestly, I think one of the reasons is the difference between the cultures, right? We and this is a huge stereotype, but a lot of Asian cultures tend to be very respectful and what's the word I'm trying to think of?
I just want to say Francesca's half Chinese, and I 100% disagree with that, based just on the sample
It's just
size
half.
of one Francesca Fiorentini.
That's my Italian side that you
Yeah.
hate, Nato.
Right. But what I'm getting at is they probably organize a lot better. It's also a smaller country, and I think they just have a lot more respect for professionals, right?
Yeah.
So if they have an expert come in and say, "This is a plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to tackle this," because facts, then people just like, okay, this is what we do. And that's how Wuhan was locked down for 76 or 78 days or something. And people did not leave. They didn't go out to the grocery store. I think they were allowed to like go out to their front doors to pick up groceries that somebody would put there magically. So we are not capable, I think, as society in the US to have that much discipline. Discipline was the word.
Sure.
Yes,
absolutely. I mean, these are also cultures that have no problem wearing masks and not to protect themselves, but as a courtesy to others when they have the common cold or the common flu. Let's see. I just wanted to ask, like, what's the relationship that you have with other labs around the country and around the world? And or with the CDC, like what's the communication like? We've seen on the state level that it's like every state for themselves, every governor for him or herself. Is the same thing happening on the clinical side of it?
Is there any like coordination of lab work?
Right.
I think so, to a certain degree, and definitely I'm low on the poll of who's talking to whom, but. When information does get shared with the team, which is us, I know like my boss shared with us that he had been in constant contact with the governor and like other universities within California that are kind of trying to work together to come up with a good plan for California. And I know also that California is working very closely with the state of Washington. So I think the whole West Coast is trying to kind of band together and work together. Which is great because honestly, West Coast has very intelligent people when it comes to science.
You can say better, it's fine.
We are kind of better. Yeah, I said it.
Can I ask, like, there's been, I was reading that, like, there have been points where past public health emergencies led to, like, far-reaching social changes. You know how, like, like cholera led to indoor plumbing and stuff, and stuff like that.
Sure.
And
can we shit in the street yet is what Nato's asking.
Can I throw my poos out the window? So like if you could guess like some systems change that could or should happen as a result of COVID that would be like built into the planning code. What do you
I think the thing that's been most surprising to me, honestly, is that it's this new innovation that you're supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds and not touch your face. Like, why is that a new thing? I don't understand why people don't wash their hands. We should have been washing our hands this whole time, right? Pandemic or no pandemic. So that's the first. So now people are more maybe willing to wash their hands long enough, maybe. I don't know. But I also think that
look, my hands are like a cast iron skillet, and I really need them seasoned. Like if they don't,
that's why you lick them sometimes.
Yeah, like they're like it's like a wok. Like you want to rinse it, but you don't want to use soap because then you get the flavoring out of your hands.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Love me a cast iron skillet.
Veronica, could you just explain the differences in testing between antibody tests and the PCR tests, and at which one is more advanced right now, and what are the differences between them?
Yeah, so the differences is the antibody test is testing for antibodies specific to this virus being present in your bloodstream.
Okay.
And so like normally most of us will have antibodies to, oh my God, no, I'm digging a hole. I don't know, influenza, hopefully, right? Or rhinovirus. Rhinovirus is the most common cause of the common cold. So most of us, we get a little sick and, you know, we get the runny nose and everything. And then your body starts producing these antibodies because they remember it from the time before. And that's how your body sort of like combats the whole thing. So that's antibody testing. It's checking whether or not the antigen, which is part of the virus or whatever foreign entity that comes into your body, when that gets activated, there's a memory of it. So your body sort of remembers like, okay, here's a little piece of rhinovirus. So let's start making rhinovirus antibodies so we can take care of it. So it tests whether or not you've already been exposed to this antigen from the virus, from a virus. The other one is the PCR test. Question.
I was just going to say that the horn of the rhinovirus is a coveted commodity. It's sold on black markets.
Yeah.
So the PCR testing is testing for the genetic material of the virus. So that one is actually looking for the virus itself. So it gets tricky there too, because just because you have genetic material present, it doesn't mean that it's alive and like an active infection, right?
Right.
So if you try to think of it in terms of like forensics, right, like the whodunit and all that, you can find DNA from a bone, right? You can extract material and find genetic material. That doesn't mean wherever you got it from was alive. So the problem sometimes becomes doctors tend to want to use these tests for the presence of the genetic material and if it's positive, sometimes they'll misinterpret it as, oh, there's an active ongoing infection, we should treat it with drugs. And sometimes maybe that's not the case anymore. So if you already tested positive like 7 days ago and you test positive again, it doesn't necessarily mean that your infection is active and ongoing. It could just mean that whatever is left that your body's taking care of and killing successfully, but there's still some remnants of genetic material.
Right.
And
it's a little misleading for them.
Do those tests have to be? Does the test for whether you have it now and the antibody test, do they have to be separate tests? Like, is there a way to make it a twofer? Like, if I'm going to be nose fucked in a parking lot, can I just have one thing?
Can I keep the swab?
Unfortunately, yeah. The super invasive swab is for the active ongoing, because that's when you're looking for the actual virus, the presence of the virus. And the antibodies has to come from your blood, so they have to take your blood somehow.
Right. And that Brad Allen had a similar question, Nato, and I just wanted to asking about if the nasal swab test can test for past infections. And then a question from Daria, any word on when accurate antibody testing will become available? I know there's like a bunch out right now, and they've been giving false negatives, false positives. There's an article out I just saw that was like, I've had 4 tests and I still don't know if I've had COVID-19.
Yeah, I think it gets complicated. And if anybody remembers the whole Theranos thing, right, where like you get 1 drop of blood and you can test for everything, like I remember that well. Yeah, it was never going to be possible. So I am a little skeptical about the finger stick tests, which are called sort of like rapid point of care tests. I am a little more skeptical of those. They tend to be less accurate, so more false negatives. But anything, think about it like if it's the more invasive it is, the more reliable it is.
Sure.
Right. So if you do a cheek swab, it may not be as thorough as that one that tickles your brain. Right.
Right.
And it just has to do with, source. If you're poking your finger just for 1 or 2 drops of blood, it may not be as representative as taking a whole tube of blood from your vein.
Right.
And then also the testing platform is different. So when you have the whole tube of blood that goes into this large machine, and there's a whole lot of chemistry and magic and science that happens, and
Yeah, Keebler elves. I got it.
Tested. Yeah, that's been tested more and more and more, and everything needs to be tested to meet a certain standard before it can be used for patient testing. That's just a standard. That's a federal standard.
Right. And the same thing with, an eventual vaccine. I remember when Dr. Fauci first came out, he was like, look, if and when we have, what we think is a vaccine, that has to go through months and months of patient trials, and it wouldn't actually be out for another year.
Right.
And
hopefully they would in their trials, they would include women, because normally for clinical trials, they tend to just ignore women as people and just test everything on men and then say, hey, this works for everyone.
This has gone too far.
Yeah, I'm signing up.
That's a whole other subject.
Well, to be fair, I do think COVID-19 is an eco-socialist anarchist who really believes in killing off men, grounding all planes, allowing all the earth to regrow and the animals to take back over. So I get it.
And the air to be clean.
And the air to be clean. I
There's
get it.
Peacocks walking around the streets now.
Exactly. Who doesn't want to see that?
One.
Okay, before I let you go, because we have to let you go soon.
Yeah.
What, coming from a science perspective and then being bludgeoned with talk of the economy, how we have to reopen. In a perfect world, in a world where we did listen to science, what would happen? How would we allow you all to work? And yeah, what's the ideal scenario?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm not really sure. I think if we again had the discipline to properly follow the guidelines, we would be further along. But, there was a party in Pasadena where somebody showed up and joked about having COVID, and suddenly everyone at the party has it now. And it's just, we all think that it's not going to happen to us.
What were you saying about evolution and natural selection?
Exactly.
There was something there about mutation.
Yeah.
I think if we all work on understanding that even though we may not be directly affected by this, it's still very real, and that the guidelines are in place for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I mean, listen, we all want to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach so bad, but I don't. I go to my yard.
Even the people who don't have a beach want to go to the beach. Like the people in the middle of the country are like, we want to go to the beach. Like, motherfucker, you have where? You just wanted to make the sign.
Yeah.
I saw Ozark. That's a shitty beach.
Veronica, is there anything you want to add? Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you before we let you go is, which people and scientists should we be following either on social media or, do they blog?
Yeah, actually, my mentor kind of does everything.
Yeah, but tell us about their vines and their periscopes.
Whoa, Nato.
So my mentor is a professor at Texas State University in San Marcos. He is the chair of the clinical lab science department. Mm-hmm. He was my mentor when I was there, and he is very, very active on the socials. He's also now a contributing writer for Forbes magazine. He has a new article out about why we need more clinical virologists, and it kind of explains who we are and what we do. And he's very, very prolific at kind of getting out there and explaining things. He did a lot of work for public health too in Texas.
What is his info? His
Twitter handle is at Rodney, Rodney, Rohde, Rohde. Rodney Rohde.
His name is Rodney Rohde?
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude. I will ride or die for Rodney Rohde to the end of the road. End of the road.
Does he also play a Hammond B3 organ? Because it seems like that goes with the name.
Do you wear fedoras?
Next time I talk to him.
Yeah.
Nobody should. It's Texas. It's a little different.
Veronica, I hope you will come back, even if it is just for 10, 15 minutes. Let us know what's going on, what you're working on, and explain to us dum-dums why we need to stay the fuck home. Thank you for all of your work. Thank you for helping us.
Washing your hands. Absolutely.
Okay,
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm really bad. I try to do it for like 2 happy birthdays, and it just lasts for like it lasts for 10 seconds. I'm gonna be real with you. Like,
but also like you have to get your thumbs. Make sure that you get your thumbs. Thumbs always get neglected because we do this.
Don't neglect the thumbs.
We do a lot of this, but we gotta do the thumbs.
Okay, Pinky getting too much wash. Wash your thumbs, y'all.
Wash your thumbs.
I learned something.
Yes.
We learned something. Wash your goddamn thumbs. Be patient with scientists and listen to them. Thank you, Veronica Huerta.
Thank you.
And we will follow your mentor and your work.
You should.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, we're back. Just me and Nato. Now we've been schooled on science. I want to read some comments, maybe. We have some non-trolls in the comment section. Nato, have you made a sign demanding your right to a haircut yet? I feel like that's...
No, I have not. Although I have been shaving my own head, but with a beard trimmer. So it's like it's working for Zoom. But if you
it's
kind of a mess because normally the way that I get my haircut is I just walk down to Mission Street and I go to a barbershop and I say, give me the number 2 all over, and then they do that. But I can't do that to myself with a beard trimmer.
That's sad. A lot of people saying thank you, Veronica. Fantastic information. I agree. Also, representative woman of color in STEM, immigrant woman of color in STEM. Fuck yeah. Like, I want Veronica on a t-shirt. I fucking love you. So happy to have you here. I'm getting verklempt because like Nato said, literally anything will make me cry. I've been watching Downton and like, yes, forget, like caste and the English high society and how that's all bullshit. But like, I've been crying 3 times every episode and it's just, it's so what I need. It's so good.
Right. I mean, I have kids my kids are in 6th grade and they want to watch superhero movies. And so like, whenever there's a moment of like, maybe if we act as a team and come together, we can win. And then I'm like, there might be hope for the X-Men.
Yeah, I've been thinking about John Idarola of the Damage Report. We were talking about how what if every action movie and every end of the world movie like were set in today's MAGA Trump America? Like every hero that ever tried to save the earth would be assassinated before. Like Bruce Willis would have been tackled by a bunch of like neckbeards in MAGA hats before he could ever have blown up that asteroid that was headed to Earth. Like every single, Will Smith would have been taken out because he's black. He's like, but I'm trying to save you. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've been thinking about how like when I watch old dystopian shows, you know what I mean? Like the Watchmen comic books, the original series of the Watchmen came out in the mid to late 80s, and like reading, it was supposed to be this like bleak, dark, dystopian future, and you go back and read it now, and it's like, oh, this seems quaint. You know what I mean? This is adorable that this is the word like V for Vendetta, that you thought that this is like, at least these people are smart. Like,
first of all, V for Vendetta was dope. Like V for Vendetta, that's about us. That's about us side. We hopefully, if there is not an election in November, you will remember the 5th or 8th of November or whatever the fuck it's going to be, because we're gonna take the goddamn streets. That's for another episode. But let's God, it's all passed so quickly. Let's go to our last segment, which is a spin-off of Sext Elect Overthrow, which we used to play on this show, but I got tired of talking about which Republican politicians you'd want to sext, because the answer is always Scott Wiener. So
who just turned 50.
Oh my God.
He's looking
50
good at 50
inches. Okay.
California State Senator Scott Wiener. Looking good at 50.
Oh, I'm getting him confused with Anthony Weiner.
Oh, and you're thinking former Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner.
We have our own Weiner here in California.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Imagine being quarantined with like between Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner.
I mean, Anthony Weiner, aka Carlos Danger. Wasn't that his like anonymous handle?
At least it wasn't like Danger Rodriguez, because that would have been even worse. But like Carlos Danger is like a little bit of appropriation. but like not too much. All right, so we're gonna play a version of Sex Select Overthrow, but with hug, quarantine, or inject with bleach. So you have to decide, Nato, who you would or what you would rather hug, what you would rather quarantine, and what you would rather inject with bleach.
Okay.
Are you ready to play?
I think I hope I know all the people.
We're not playing with people. We're playing with
great
systems.
systems.
Because coronavirus has shown a black light onto all of our American systems that are failing us handily, and how they all need to be changed or done away with, I thought we could choose 3 systems. 1, the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
2, the airline industry. Or 3, meat processing plants. Which would you hug? Which would you quarantine? And which would you inject with bleach?
Got it. So I would say that I would.
It's hard.
So inject with bleach is easy. I want to inject with bleach the stock market, because every day it's the headlines are always back to back. It's like, 1 million people died. Stock market breaks new record. It's like, fuck you, stock market. Where's your compassion? And so I hate the stock market. The stock market profits off our suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Injected with bleach.
Mm-hmm.
I would say quarantine the airline industry. They need a timeout. They need to take a break. They need to stop flying these carbon emission factories around the sky. Take a break. Stop. They're taking all this federal relief money for themselves and not giving it to the workers. Yes. They need a timeout. Hug. I'll go with meat processing plants. I know that it's bad for the environment and they're horrible labor conditions, but also
give me the entrails.
I love a brisket.
You love a morcilla.
Yeah.
That's a blood sausage, by the way.
Oh, I'm familiar.
A la morcilla. Have you ever had have you ever made your own blood sausage?
I've never made it. I've eaten it. I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
There's a limit to, there's some things that I can't make for my family, and that would include offals.
What are offals?
Like the entrail bits, like
right.
Things like blood sausage and
Yeah, intestines.
Yeah. Kidney.
I really agree with a lot of that, although I really don't want. I just want to hug the workers in meat processing plants. I think they should. It should all be shut down.
You want to hug them from 6 feet away, but yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to be real for now.
Yeah.
Who is the safest to hug? Okay, so I think we should inject bleach into meat processing plants because you need to clean it up. There were outbreaks of flu before this all happened, and now, it's basically coronavirus is hitting the least sanitary places, nursing homes, meat processing plants. Inject that shit with bleach. Clean that shit up, slow down the goddamn conveyor belts so people can properly disassemble a hog. I didn't know I was going to say disassemble a hog today. Yesterday, yes. Today, no. Inject that shit with bleach. I agree. Quarantine the airline industry. Take a timeout, ground some jets, reconfigure your shit, make some shit that runs on solar. You fly so close to the sun, and yet that is why you fail. There was a way to make that Icarus
you got so close to the Icarus joke, but then the wax melted and you fell to the ground.
Indeed. And then I would hug the stock market, as just almost as like you hug, a dog that you're about to put down. Just like there, you should die. And many of the people who make the stock market run probably were not hugged enough as children. Therefore, you got to hug them. Hug it out. What's going on? Tell me, bruh. And then, Jennifer Lopez will come in and steal all our money, but we'll get to see her dance. It'll be worth it. That's a Hustlers reference. Best movie of the last year. Watch Hustlers if you are fucking bored of someone said they were watching Two Broke Girls. That's the saddest shit I've ever heard. Guys, this has been the Bitchuation Room live stream. Holy shit, we did it. Nato.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting.
I missed doing the Bitchuation Room live, and this is a good alternative.
It is, dude. What do you got coming up? You got anything to plug? You got like a live show you're trying to soup people up for?
No, I mean I have 2 albums out that you can, if you are not familiar with the entirety of my oeuvre. I have 2 albums out that can be streamed or downloaded wherever that happens. The NATO Green Party and the Whiteness album are out. You can also hear me regularly on the Bugle podcast, talking with British people about politics.
Pass. I'm kidding. I love British comics. They just come to our country and steal our jobs. This is my one problem with them. You know, they are, in a way, I am MAGA, but only when it comes to comedy. Thank you, Nato, for joining me, and thank you guys for all being here. You can find me on Twitter at FrannyFio. You can find me here every Sunday. Listen to past episodes. Like this stream. Donate, tip us for the work that we're doing, and also to donate to Movimiento Cosecha, which is, again, working with undocumented immigrants and making sure they are taken care of in these horrible ass times. Also, there was something I was going to say. Write the podcast a review. If you want this to come back, if you want this to be like a real thing, live stream or no, write us a review, give us 5 stars. It's okay to be 4. Like sometimes you have to be like, oh my God, nobody asked me to do this, 4 stars. You know how like, anyway, I'd so appreciate it. Thank you, Joseph. And also thank you, Ulysses. And thank you to Becca Roofer, who's behind the scenes helping us produce this show. We will see you next Sunday in 1 week. Let's see how this time feels. And Nato, can you like actually make us a cocktail that time? Nato is an incredible.
I've really been coping with quarantine by investing in my alcoholism. Yeah. So I'll have a good cocktail on hand next week.
Good. Me too. I think I did order the Downton Abbey cocktail book. I've said this to pretty much everyone who knows me, and I hope to also have a cocktail from it and cry as I drink it. It's just going to be sherry. It's going to be fucking disgusting.
Ugh.
All right. Mwah. Bye, y'all. Love you.
Bye.
See you next week.
Good night.
We need to sign up.